Welcome to another Pride episode of the Grow Your Occupancy podcast. I'm Julie Podewitz, CEO and founder, and I'm really, really happy to invite my friend and colleague, Jess Bryant, to the show today. And Jess is the Customer Success Manager at WelcomeHome. So welcome, Jess.
I'm glad to be here, Julie. Couldn't be more excited.
Really appreciate you jumping on, Jess. You and I met not too long ago.
Not at all.
Instant friends, instant connection. I know it feels like a long time.
It does.
When you meet someone who has the heart you do, it's not difficult to have that instant connection.
Well, thank you. That is one of the highest compliments I could be paid.
So if you won't mind, since it's our Pride episode, Pride Month, Pride Year, do you mind just kind of sharing your story with us?
Yeah, I don't mind at all. Yeah, we became fast friends because I didn't mind sharing my story. So I think that speaks volumes. No, I've from the fourth grade, I've known I was different. I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what it would eventually become, but I knew I was different from others. And that was a bit isolating, honestly, as a kid, to know there's something different about you, but not have a way to identify it. So I eventually came out at the ripe age of 22. I was actually talking to my wife this morning because I couldn't remember what age I was. But I came out at 22 through very, very painstaking processes and trying to reject who I was. I grew up in the church, so traditional Christianity, and I was taught my entire life that it wasn't okay to be gay, that it was a sin. I was going to go to hell. I was going to be ostracized from everybody that I knew. And that's horrifying as a teenager to be told that, when you know in your heart, like, I don't like boys, I like women. It is what it is. And so I spent I would say probably 20, 21 of my years not being my authentic self. And that's hard. It's really hard looking back at it. And I feel sorry for myself back then. Yeah.
All of our, everyone who's on a journey to try to find our authentic self, to whatever journey that looks like, it's challenging. It's challenging. You be you, because let's face it. Everybody most people try to fit in, right? Fit in school, middle school, so challenging, in high school, et cetera, et cetera. So it's challenging enough. And then when you said you felt different, starting like fourth grade, maybe 8, 9, 10 years old, and it was isolating. And so to find your authentic self, especially when you're told or taught with not a negative intention, but that's just the kind of the culture you grew up in, that who you are, who you were thinking you might be, is a sin. You're going to hell. How could you embrace your true authentic self in those circumstances? It's hard enough in regular circumstances.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine how challenging, right? So what was it, Jess, that you were a little bit older, kind of heading into adulthood, but what was it that really was like, okay, I'm going to do this?
So my first relationship with a woman was very secretive. It was, we were just two best friends hanging out every single day and staying at each other's houses like best friends do. So I was in a relationship with a woman when I was 17, and that lasted about a year and a half. And then when she dumped me, it wrecked me. It wrecked me because she considered herself straight. She wasn't interested in women except for me. So that was very traumatizing. So I went very, very, very back deep in the closet. I went to seminary. I work at a church with youth groups and things like that. Like I tried to immerse myself as much as I could into what I thought I was supposed to be, what I thought my intention was in life, because I had all of these people telling me, oh, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. None of it is what I wanted to be. None of it was authentically myself. And then I met a person. And she taught me the phrase radical self-acceptance.
I'm writing that down.
Radical self-acceptance. And so when I was going through some things with her, and she was kind of like a mentor. And I was trying to figure myself out. And so I was like, all right, so radical self-acceptance to me, that means I'm gay. That means I identify as gay. I identify as lesbian. You can call it whatever you want. I prefer the term gay. And so I came out to her and she rejected me.
And the person who taught you radical self-acceptance?
She meant radical self-acceptance within the confines of what she believed.
No, she was talking about my acceptance, but I'm sorry, I'm not laughing.
The irony is astounding. Yeah.
Yeah, I accept you for who you are, except if it's bad.
Yes, exactly. So I have spent my life knowing that there are caveats to who I am, depending on who I'm talking to. And so when she rejected me, actually fueled me harder into living that life. So I was around 21 at this point. I hadn't come out to my family. I had come out to like maybe one or two friends, maybe one or two at this point. And they were like, all right, you should start exploring. You should get on apps. So I like dated casually a couple of women. And I was still in seminary. Keep this in mind. I was still living the good old Christian life. And I met this girl named Kate. And it changed everything. I knew that I met my wife. And I didn't want to hide that anymore. She wasn't out. I wasn't out. Like we met on an app like you do in the millennial world. Nothing crazy there. And I decided to post something on Facebook. And I was like, I didn't even make a grand announcement. I said, this is Kate. I love her, like all these things. And I didn't say like, I'm gay or like make this huge pronouncement. Well, a student at my seminary saw that and took it to the dean, and I was then kicked out of the seminary. So I was one semester shy of graduating. I had met what I thought was going to be my wife, and I had nothing at that point. I had given it all up to be radically self-accepting, this concept that had been introduced to me 2 years prior, but when I did it, it was rejected. So I've faced rejection, a lot of it, and I'm fine with it. It is what it is. But I had to finally accept that I am who I am, and I'm not going to change that for anybody because that's dumb to change yourself for other people. And so I came out, and I came out to my parents. I came out to my mom. She was hesitant at first, and then was totally fine. But my dad, he didn't care. He was just like, all right, that's cool. So I am very fortunate in that regard. Not everybody reacted that way. Let me get that 100%. In my life, not everybody reacted that way. But I was very fortunate to have parents who, yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, your parents did. I mean, parents was positive, and that's key, right?
Key.
Yeah. But not everybody was as positive.
No, of course not. No. With the circles that I was running in, not everybody was positive. Absolutely not. So I isolated myself from those circles. I just kind of abandoned them because I'm like, I'm not going to pretend to be who you want me to be anymore. Yeah.
You know, two things when listening to you talk about Kate, and you're facial expression even change. This kind of emotion is just, and what I wrote down was, this is a love story.
Oh yeah, just to clarify, she is now my wife. Like, we are married.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's a love story. And can we all not relate to a love story? Do we all not love a love story? We all love it, right? So love is love is love, right? So that, and thank you, Lin-Manuel Miranda, for that. That is the message here, right? That love is love is love, and it is what is a love story. And for you to be able to tell your love story you went through a lot. You went through a lot of emotional trauma to be able just to tell your love story, right? And that love story is such a wonderful, positive thing. And I mean, we've all had heartache, we've all had heartbreak, and all that. But we all love to tell our love story, and it's for for most people, it's easy. Like, oh, hey, I or Jim and I are engaged, or I met a great guy. Hey, yay. I mean, it's not that difficult, right? Yeah. But for you to tell your love story is such a different experience. And I wanted to ask you how much you agree with Kelly Clarkson, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
So love Kelly Clarkson. She was my first concert. Little tidbit about me. Love her.
Wow. I love that tidbit. What's your favorite Kelly Clarkson song?
Oh gosh, she just came out with one. She did a cover of Billie Eilish's "Happier Than Ever," I think is what it is, and she demolished it. So right now, that's my jam to Kelly. But it's not even her song, but she crushed it.
Crazy amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, crazy amazing. But okay, so what doesn't kill you makes you stronger? Yes or no?
Absolutely. I would not be who I am. Then that's a lot of people say, oh, I don't live my life with regrets. I don't live my life like regretting things I've done. I can truly say that though. If I hadn't gone through what I went through, I would not be the person that I am today. And I owe all of those ridiculous people who rejected me, and those people who said they would pray for me because they were hoping that I would become straight. I owe them a lot and I even owe that mentor who told me radical self-acceptance, because I wouldn't have gotten to the place that I am today. I got a compliment the other day, and I don't know if the person meant it as a compliment or not, from a friend that we both know, who said, you are unapologetically yourself. And at 30, that is it took so many years, but that is the best thing that anyone could ever say to me, because I worked so hard to be unapologetically myself. And I still struggle with it every single day, every day. But that's how I know I am where I'm supposed to be. Yeah.
Jess, I can't imagine that there is anybody listening or anybody out there who wouldn't try for that same thing. I think, and whether we're really conscious of it or not, or it's something that it's in the forefront of our mind to be authentically ourselves. When people, and I'm not a psychologist, but when there's a lot of inner turmoil, inner stress, inner angst, and it's the disconnect. We kind of know, like, if it's an outside factor, we're not in the right job, right? That's because it just doesn't feel good, right? And we can pinpoint, well, I don't like to sit at a desk all day and do accounting. Okay, you're in the wrong job, right? So that we can, and that's challenging enough. Or maybe we're in the wrong relationship, but we're in the wrong relationship with ourselves. We're not being authentically ourselves. I think it's super, super challenging road to drive down, because you have to identify who you are. And we are, we evolve, obviously. So you're 30, and what would you say, like, in what way have you found, maybe in this last decade, progression, like, in society? And then conversely, what are you thinking, oh, come on, right? Like, what have we either gone backward on, or we're just like, so what's the positive in the last decade and what's the negative?
Well, I mean, one of the biggest positives ever is 2015, when it became legal for everybody to be married, no matter who you are, no matter what you identify as. Marry the person you want, be happy with your life. On that same note, I think that's the biggest hurdle for us. I was talking to Kate when the reversing Roe thing came into play. And we genuinely had to look at each other and say, okay, if they're reversing that, can they reverse us? And the fact that that even has to be a thought is ridiculous. Like, we made so much progress and everybody was happy. No one was getting hurt. Nothing happened. The world did not end when gay people or anyone who decided to get married wanted to be married. Nothing happened. The world did not melt. So why should that even still be a consideration of anyone when it's not even hurting you? So that's what I think is the biggest downfall right now, but it's also the biggest win of the decade. Yeah.
Oh, you are authentically yourself, and you're so succinct, and you put things so clearly. That is a huge win. And what does it matter? When we all have our, very strong feelings and emotions that, for me, it's like, until everybody is eating, then we can go to the next thing, right? For me, till everybody is eating, everybody has a roof over their head, worrying about who's getting married we're worrying about the wrong thing. We've got people need to eat, right? Let's do basics here. So I admire anybody who goes through challenges and comes out stronger, or continues to evolve, or continues to explore. And when you're inherently given, without your choice, a challenge that you didn't adapt yourself. So in women and minorities, we start at behind the starting gate, right? Or have you seen that short video where there's a lot of men and women like on a racetrack, and they'll say, okay, if you graduated high school, take a step forward. If you went to college, take another step forward. If you did this, take a step forward, right? And then you've got some people is way, or if you have, all these things, and okay, now let's run the race, right? Yeah. Or if you have this, take a step backwards. So that those that are still in the race and who are, pushing forward, it's, to me, we should be in awe. I mean, we should admire and embrace, and it's all about embracing humanity. What would you say to somebody who is like, oh, but it's a sin, it's wrong, this isn't right.
It takes time. It takes time for you to, it's different for everybody. Every single person's journey is different. There is no one that looks exactly like the other. There are some that look similar. There's a lot of people who have the exact, very similar stories to what I do. But I'm still figuring it out. That's how much time it takes. I am still trying to completely figure out what I want in life. I mean, I'm only 30. Don't get me wrong. I understand I've got some time. But it takes time, because you got to try out different things. You got to find what works for you. When I came out, I was wearing snapbacks and beanies and like a scale. Like I thought that I had to be the stereotypical lesbian because that's how I was identified as. I went from wearing cowboy boots and churches to or dresses to church to wearing like board shorts and skater clothes because that's what I thought it looked like. I have obviously since refined my taste. But I wear men's clothes. I am masculine presenting. So that adds a whole nother layer to it. I am a masculine presenting woman. And that in itself has challenges in today's world because a lot of people don't like that. It's off-putting. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I feel comfortable in men's clothes because they fit me well. And I think I look really good in them. So what?
My daughter, I'm sorry for jumping. I wanted to jump on that because Ava was on the last podcast, and she is 18 years old. And one of the things that she mentioned that she is, I don't know the term she's, but like kind of feminine presenting. That she is people, think she's heterosexual. That's the assumption, and that's a advantage in the room because you don't know what
100%.
the temperature of the room is that you're stepping in, right? And so the first step is Ava, she's gay. Oh, she's really okay. That's step one, and then move forward. So if you're saying that you feel like you're kind of masculine presenting, we all have feminine, masculine energy, all of us.
Yeah.
It's not being a man or a woman; it's feminine energy, masculine energy.
And that's
so
the
your
key.
energy, you feel like, right. And so, do you feel like there really is a kind of a difference, or that maybe Ava has a point?
100%. When I walk, so I married a very feminine woman. She wears dresses. She kind of like Ava. When she walks into a room, no one would probably know unless she's wearing her pride band or unless she's wearing like some kind of, but even then, are you an ally? Not, are you gay? That's not the first question you get. When I walk into a room, my wife likes to say, you scream gay. Like you fit every single stereotype that there is.
You're checking
every one of them. I wear suits. I don't wear dresses. So when you see a woman walk into a room wearing a men's suit, generally people know, or they think they know. And so,
you could
it's
wear
different.
A man's suit. You could wear a man's suit and not be gay, right?
100%. Yeah, you totally could. But the stereotype that I have to live with on a daily basis is staggering.
Sure.
Yeah.
So again, I parallel it with black people who are African American, black, who are that the stereotype or the prejudice or hatred of like darker skin, versus lighter skin, and how there's levels of prejudice, and it's insanity. It's really insanity that we're not evolved to be humanity, right? We're just human, right? We're humanity, and it takes people like you, like you said, one conversation at a time, one journey at a time, maybe one mind opening at a time. I was at a conference, Jess, that's probably just about a year ago, and a woman came up to me and she said, might I ask you kind of a personal question? And I did not know her, and it's true. And she said, are you the one that posted a personal blog? And I had posted a blog about Ava coming out.
Got it.
It said, my 17-year-old daughter is gay. So what? And it was kind of the story of that's who she is, And she said, I really, I just wanted to say, I wanted to be honest with you. When I saw it, I was offended. And I thought, who does she think she is, or how dare her? Or she said, I felt icked. And I have to say that I'm working on that. And I was brought up to, with a certain belief system. And I am still of that belief system, but I'm working on it because I understand that there are really good gay people, and I work with good gay people, and so on and so on. And I said, well, and she goes, oh, I'm even going to my first gay marriage, my first gay wedding. And I said, well, I really appreciate your coming, your candor, your honesty, your vulnerability, to share that with me, because quite frankly, it's, something that's kind of distasteful to hear, but, it's not, a reflection on you as a person. I admire you as a person. And, I walked away from that, really, really admiring her because, if you think about it, as much as, you and I and all of us we all have beliefs. Yeah. And what I have to tell myself is, as much as I am so firmly ensconced in belief in people are people and human is human and all of that, so then maybe, the people who are firmly ensconced in a different belief system, they were taught, or, from a very early, maybe from birth, this is right, this is wrong, here are the lanes. It's inside them to try to then question that, to question something, maybe their parents and their whole social, their whole everything. And that's got to be challenging. So I think for me, my journey has been like empathy's grown for people on that journey. Who may feel super uncomfortable, like, ooh, maybe that, even though there's a lot that I believe, that piece of it isn't right.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to the way that I grew up. I thought that about gay people. I knew inside that I was gay when I was a teenager, and I saw kids at school coming out, and externally when my friends were talking about it and saying like, oh my God, I can't believe that she ended up being gay or he ended up being gay, I was like, oh yeah, me either. Like, that's nuts. Wow. And I would judge them externally, but internally I was like fighting myself. And so that's what I mean when you have kids who are indoctrinated like I was. Like, it takes time. You have to teach yourself not to be homophobic. As a gay person, I have to not be homophobic. That shouldn't be a thing that I had to grow up with, but it was. Like, those people exist. They're just uncomfortable with themselves until you get to a point where you're undeniably yourself. And you can be your authentic self and walk down the street holding your wife's hand and not be scared that someone is going to come up and say like a homophobic slur. Like, I've been called many homophobic slurs because of the way I look and because of the way I present. But I don't have the energy for it anymore. But that took a lot of time to get there. A lot of time.
What advice would you give someone listening to this who's struggling to come out, struggling to be someone who's more on the beginning of your journey rather than where you are now?
Be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up. It's gonna eventually be okay, but you're gonna go through a lot. And the easier you are on yourself and the more forgiving you are of yourself, the easier that process is going to be. I wish I was kinder to 16-year-old Jess. I wish I was kinder to even 17 and 18-year-old Jess, because I gave her a lot of crap and a lot of heat for the way that she was feeling, because I thought it was wrong. And if I had just given myself the opportunity to feel those feelings versus rejecting them, would have been a lot better.
Well, I knew my day would be fantastic talking with you, and it is. So it's already the best day ever. I so appreciate you jumping on, Jess, sharing your story, being so open. Yeah. You're phenomenal. Happy Pride. Happy you.
Happy Pride.
Thank you again. Happy Pride.
Bye.